The morning sunlight slid through the tall kitchen windows of the Hartwell estate, casting a warm gold across the marble countertops that never quite felt like they belonged to Ava. For 3 years, she had lived in this home now, survived in it, moving carefully around its polished edges the way one tiptoes over glass. She had married Michael Hartwell with hope stitched into her heart, believing that beyond his cold exterior hid a man capable of warmth. But the more time passed, the clearer it became. She had fallen in love with potential, not reality. That morning, the air carried the smell of cinnamon pancakes, the kind Ava made every Sunday, a tradition she kept even when Michael stopped appreciating it. She stood at the stove, flipping the last pancake while the quiet hum of the espresso machine filled the room. Michael had already taken his seat at the breakfast table, scrolling through emails with a level of attention he never gave her. His perfectly ironed shirt and expensive watch sparkled under the lights, but the man inside them was as brittle as frost. Ava placed the plate on the table. "Breakfast is ready," she said softly. Michael didn't look up. Finally, she ignored the sting of the word. She sat across from him, trying to steady her breathing. Sundays were the closest thing to peace in this household. At least they used to be, but lately they felt like countdowns to another blow, another insult dressed in casual cruelty. He stabbed a piece of pancake, glanced at it as if inspecting a lawsuit, and muttered, "Too soft." "You never get it right anymore," Ava swallowed. "I followed the usual recipe. Maybe that's the problem," he said, leaning back. "You always stick to what you know. No creativity. No initiative." He said it like he was talking to an intern he planned to fire. She looked down at her food, appetite slipping away. This was what her days had become, fighting silent battles to keep a fragile peace with a man who chipped away at her piece by piece. She had built a career as a crisis counselor before marriage, helping strangers through their worst moments, yet she couldn't save her own marriage from becoming a slow disaster. Michael finally set his phone down and looked at her with a smirk that didn't reach his eyes. "Actually, I've been meaning to talk to you about something important." Ava sat still. His tone already told her she wouldn't like what came next. "I was thinking," he said casually, "maybe divorce would be the best option. I mean, come on, look at us." The words struck her like a slap she never saw coming. "Divorce?" She whispered. "Yes, I mean really, Ava. I should have known better than to marry someone so different from me." He waved his hand vaguely at her skin, her background, her entire identity. "Our worlds don't match." They never did. Ava inhaled sharply, her heart tightening. "Are you mocking me?" Michael chuckled. "No, I'm being honest." "You should appreciate honesty." Then he added with a cruel glint, "Besides, my parents were right." "I'd eventually grow tired of pretending that." "Pretending what?" she pressed, her voice trembling. He shrugged. "Pretending this marriage was equal?" Her chest burned. She had endured subtle jabs before, endured him dismissing her culture, her family, her ambitions. But this open mockery was new. "You brought this up at breakfast," she said quietly. "Like it's a joke." "Relax," he scoffed. "You're too emotional." "That's another problem." Ava stood slowly, pressing her palms against the table to steady herself. "Say what you really want to say." Michael smirked deeper. "Fine, I'm bored, Ava. Bored with the marriage. Bored with you, and I've been considering upgrading." She froze. He had always flirted with cruelty, but this was humiliation served cold. "So yes," he continued, slicing another pancake piece, "a divorce might actually be a blessing for both of us. Don't you think?" Ava felt something break not her heart, but the restraint she had clung to for years. She straightened. "If you want a divorce, Michael, then we will talk like adults. But you will not disrespect me in my own home?" He raised an eyebrow. "Your home?" "Our home," she corrected firmly. "I contribute. I built parts of this life with you." "You?" He laughed. "Please." You're still lucky I brought you into this world at all. You should be grateful. She stared at him, stunned at the venom behind his voice. There it was, the truth he never said openly. He had treated her like she was beneath him, like she was a charity project he had saved. But she had ignored the signs, believing love could soften him. Not anymore. Ava stepped back from the table. I'm done. Michael blinked. Done with what? Done being the quiet wife you can insult whenever you're bored. Done letting you diminish everything I am. She lifted her chin. You want a divorce? Then prepare for one. But I won't walk away silently and leave everything to you. Michael's smirk cracked. What do you mean? Ava grabbed her handbag from the counter and walked toward the door. Her voice was steady now, calm, powerful, unlike any tone she had used with him before. I mean, she said, turning back to him, you're not the only one with a lawyer. For the first time, fear flickered across Michael's face. What lawyer? He asked, voice rising. The one I should have called years ago, Ava responded. And trust me, when this is over, you'll be the one begging. She walked out. Michael stood frozen in the dining room, fork dangling in midair, his authority suddenly slipping like water through his fingers. And for the first time since marrying him, Ava felt something she hadn't felt in years, freedom. Ava didn't slow down until she reached the driveway. The cold outside hit her, sharp and cleansing, like a slap from reality that woke her up for the first time in years. Her breath misted in the crisp morning air as she leaned against her car door, trying to steady the storm inside her. Her hands trembled, not from fear, but from the sudden release of all the anger she had swallowed for so long. For 3 years, she had been shrinking herself to fit into Michael's world, molding her voice, her dreams, her identity into something he approved of. But this morning, something inside her had shifted, snapped, even. And once a woman discovers her worth, no kind of cruelty can make her forget it again. She opened the car door and slid inside, resting her head on the steering wheel. Enough, she whispered to herself. Enough of pretending. With that decision, a strange calmness washed over her. She started the engine and drove away, leaving behind the mansion, the insults, the cold luxury. She drove toward the city, toward life, toward hope. By the time she parked outside a small law office near downtown, her resolve had settled like steel inside her chest. She pushed open the door and stepped into the warmly lit lobby. A receptionist looked up with a polite smile. Good morning. How can we assist you today? Ava swallowed hard but kept her chin high. I'd like to speak to Attorney Daniels. I have an emergency. Within minutes, she was ushered into a private office where a woman in a sharp charcoal suit rose to greet her. Attorney Simone Daniels, known for being one of the toughest family lawyers in the state, extended her hand. Ava Hartwell, Simone said with a knowing nod. I've heard your name before. Ava blinked. You have? Simone gestured for her to sit. Let's just say your husband's reputation isn't as impeccable as he thinks. Now, she leaned forward. What happened? Ava told her everything. The breakfast mockery, the humiliation, the years of quiet pain. Simone listened intently, her pen gliding across a legal pad with practiced precision. First, Simone said when Ava finished, I'm sorry you've endured this. No woman deserves to be treated as lesser in her own marriage. Ava felt tears sting her eyes, but she blinked them away. Second, Simone continued, you have more power in this situation than you realize. Your husband assumes he holds all the cards, but based on what you've told me, that isn't true. Ava straightened slightly. What do you mean? Simone tapped her pen on the desk. You mentioned you contributed financially during the first year of marriage. You also told me you helped him secure the Hartwell Foundation project. That gives you leverage. If he wants a divorce, he won't get to walk away clean. Ava exhaled in relief. So I'm not powerless. Far from it, Simone said firmly. You're a partner in this marriage, not a passenger. And we're going to remind him of that. Ava nodded. soaking in the strength of those words. She had been quiet for too long, silenced by fear of conflict, fear of losing a life that was never truly hers. But now she had a warrior on her side, a path forward. Simone slid a stack of documents toward her. First step, we file for separation on your terms, not his. We freeze all marital assets to prevent him from moving money. And we secure a temporary restraining order to limit emotional harassment, given what you've described. Ava blinked. A restraining order? Michael isn't violent, but he's emotionally abusive. That alone is enough to protect your peace during this process. Ava nodded again, her confidence expanding like breath after years of suffocation. When she left the office an hour later, she felt lighter, more in control. She walked with purpose, heels clicking against the pavement. She was no longer the woman who stood in the kitchen absorbing Michael's cruelty. She was the woman who walked out and took her power with her. Back at the house, Michael paced the living room like a storm in human form. His hair was disheveled, his jaw clenched. His phone buzzed repeatedly, messages from his assistant, his mother, his business partner, but his mind fixated on one thing, Ava's final words. You're not the only one with a lawyer. He hadn't expected her to fight back. Not shy, soft-spoken Ava, not the woman he thought he had molded into compliance. But the more he replayed her expression, the more uneasy he felt. She had looked done, truly done, and that terrified him. When he heard the front door open hours later, he spun around. Ava stepped in, not timid, not shaking, but with a calm force he didn't recognize. Michael rushed toward her. Ava, listen, we should talk. She walked past him without a glance and began collecting some clothes into a small suitcase. Ava, he repeated louder. I'm trying to apologize. For what? She asked without turning. Mocking me? Humiliating me? Or for showing me exactly who you are? He flinched. I wasn't serious about the divorce. I was just frustrated. Frustration doesn't excuse disrespect, she replied coldly. He stepped closer. Ava, come on, don't do this. We can fix it. She zipped her suitcase shut. There is no we right now. Panic entered his voice. Where are you going? Somewhere peaceful, she said. Somewhere I don't have to hear you tear me apart every morning. He grabbed her wrist, but gently, the way desperate men do when they realize they've pushed too far. Ava, please. Don't leave. She turned, eyes fierce. Let go. He released her instantly. Ava, he whispered, lost. I didn't mean to hurt you. Oh, but you did, she replied. And now you get to sit in the silence you created. She lifted the suitcase, walked past him, and reached the door. Michael followed helplessly. Ava, please. I'm sorry. Don't go. But she didn't look back. She stepped outside, closed the door behind her, and for the first time in 3 years, Michael Hartwell stood alone begging, not because he loved her, but because he finally realized what it meant to lose her. Ava checked into a quiet boutique hotel on the edge of the city, its lobby filled with soft jazz and the comforting hum of anonymity. She didn't need extravagance, she needed space, clarity, and distance from the cold walls of a mansion that had never felt like home. Her room overlooked the skyline, and for the first time in years, she breathed without restraint. She placed her suitcase on the bed, sank onto a chair by the window, and let her mind finally unravel the knots Michael had tied around her spirit. A gentle knock interrupted her thoughts. When she opened the door, she saw her reflection-tired eyes, messy hair, but a fire glowing where there used to be shadows. She wasn't broken. She was awakening. Over the next 2 days, Ava settled into a routine. Morning walks to clear her head, long showers that washed away years of silent suffering, and daily calls with Simone, who worked tirelessly behind the scenes. The papers were being prepared, the accounts were being traced, and Ava's rights were being protected with a fierceness she had never been given before. Michael, however, was unraveling. The first morning, she didn't return home. He woke to a kitchen with no breakfast, no warm cinnamon pancakes, no quiet humming from across the counter, no softness to offset his coldness. He slammed cabinet doors, cursed under his breath, and stormed around the house like a child who had lost his favorite toy. But the truth gnawed at him. He didn't miss the pancakes. He missed the woman who made him feel stable even when he didn't deserve her. His phone buzzed constantly. His mother called, furious that Ava had left. His father texted asking if he had finally come to his senses, but the message that froze him came from his business partner, Thomas. I heard Ava met with Simone Daniels. What's going on? Michael's stomach clenched. Simone Daniels was infamous for dismantling powerful men in court. If Ava had her, then he was in deeper trouble than he realized. He called Ava repeatedly. She didn't answer. He emailed. She ignored it. By the third day, he drove to her favorite places, the bookstore she loved, the cafe where she used to read, but she was nowhere. He sat in his car outside the hotel he suspected she might choose, but still didn't have the courage to go inside. Pride was a disease he'd fed for years, and now it trapped him. Night after night, Ava slept soundly while Michael paced his empty mansion like a prisoner. On the fourth day, things shifted. Ava sat with Simone in her office, reviewing the final separation papers. Once you sign, Simone said, we will file and notify him formally. Based on his financial records, you're entitled to a significant portion of marital assets, and given the emotional distress, we are requesting spousal support. He will not like the numbers, but that's not your concern. Ava nodded calmly. I'm ready. Just as she lifted the pen, the office door burst open. Michael stood there disheveled, pale, eyes sunken from sleepless nights. The receptionist hurried behind him, apologizing, but Simone raised a hand. It's fine, she said calmly. Let him in. Michael stared at Ava like he was seeing her for the first time. Ava, please. We need to talk. Ava set the pen down with slow precision. Simone, may we have a moment? Simone gave her a warning look, then nodded and stepped out. When the door closed, Michael exhaled shakily. Ava, what are you doing? What I should have done long ago, she replied. He moved closer. Please, don't do this. I messed up. I said things I shouldn't have. I was stupid. I was angry. I didn't mean any of it. Yes, she said softly, you did. You meant it enough to say it with a smile. He flinched like the word slapped him. Ava, I was wrong, he whispered. I've been wrong for a long time, and I didn't see what I had until you walked out. She shook her head. No, Michael, you saw it. You just didn't value it. He stepped closer, desperation thick in his voice. I can change. Ava gave a small, sad smile. I don't doubt you can. But I no longer believe it's my job to wait for you to become someone you should have been already. Michael clenched his hands, breathing unevenly. Don't leave me. She looked at him steadily. You didn't think about losing me when you mocked me. You didn't think about losing me when you belittled me. And you certainly didn't think about it when you dangled divorce like a joke. He stood frozen, unable to argue. I'm not leaving you because you made a mistake, Ava said. I'm leaving because you made a pattern. A tear slipped down Michael's cheek fast, unexpected. He wiped it quickly, but the moment had already exposed him. Ava, he whispered, voice cracking, I don't want to live without you. She stood, feeling the strength she had been building since the moment she walked out of that mansion. Michael, you're not fighting for me. You're fighting for control. He blinked rapidly. That's not true, isn't it? She asked. You didn't panic because you love me. You panicked because for the first time, you don't have power over me. Her words hit him harder than any argument he'd ever faced in boardrooms. I'm not coming back, she said. Not now, not until I heal. Not until you take responsibility, not perform it. Michael reached for her hand, but she stepped back. Ava, I'm begging you, he whispered. Please, just give me one more chance. She inhaled deeply. If you want a chance, Michael, then earn it. Not with tears. Not with apologies spoken out of fear. Change because you want to be better, not because you want me to stay. He swallowed hard. How? Tell me what to do. You start by signing your own papers, she said. You start by letting me breathe. Michael sank into the chair across from her, defeated in a way she had never seen. For the first time, he looked small, not because she diminished him, but because the weight of his own actions finally crushed him. Ava picked up the pen. Simone looked back in, eyes sharp, posture unyielding. Is everything settled? Ava nodded and signed. Michael closed his eyes as if the sound of the pen on paper was a knife twisting in his chest. And with that stroke, the man who once mocked her at breakfast felt the full weight of losing the woman who had loved him with everything she had. Ava left Simone's office feeling the weight of 3 years drift off her shoulders like ash from a long-burned fire. The late afternoon sun warmed her face as she walked down the busy sidewalk. The sounds of the city replacing the stifling silence Michael had forced her to live in. People moved with purpose around her, strangers with their own battles, their own stories, and for the first time, Ava felt like she was a part of life again, not a ghost inside a gilded cage. She found a small cafe tucked between a bookstore and a florist and decided to step in. The soft hum of conversation, the aroma of roasted coffee, and the quiet comfort of independence wrapped around her like a blanket. She ordered a tea, sat by the window, and just breathed. It felt strange, this new version of herself, free, steady, unafraid, but it felt right. Like she was returning to the woman she had been before Michael dimmed her light. Her phone buzzed. She looked down, expecting another missed call from Michael, but instead saw a message from her best friend, Kayla. Kayla, I heard what happened. I'm at your hotel. Call me. Ava smiled softly. She hadn't told many people. She'd been too ashamed, too tired. But Kayla had always known there was something wrong beneath the polished marriage photos. Ava took a sip of her tea and dialed. Kayla answered on the first ring. Girl, finally. Where are you? Ava exhaled. A cafe on Willis Street. I just needed a moment. You need more than a moment, Kayla said. You need a whole new life, one with peace and real love. Ava laughed lightly, the sound surprising her. I'm working on it. I'm coming to get you, Kayla said. We're having dinner and you're telling me everything. Ava didn't resist. She hadn't realized how much she missed being seen, truly seen, until now. Kayla arrived like a burst of sunshine, big hugs, bigger energy, and zero patience for Ava's attempts to minimize what she'd endured. That man had you walking on eggshells for years, Kayla said as they drove. You think we didn't notice? You think we didn't see how small he kept you? Ava looked out the window, blinking back tears. I thought I could fix it. Girl, you can't fix a man who refuses to see he's broken, Kayla said, letting go. That's strength, Ava whispered. It feels like failure. No, staying would have been failure. Those words sat heavily on Ava's chest, truth she finally felt ready to accept. Meanwhile, Michael sat alone at the dining table where the mockery had taken place. The pancakes had long gone cold. He stared at the empty chair across from him, the space Ava had filled with quiet love, with patience, with resilience. He pressed his palms against his forehead, trying to make sense of his own actions. He had driven her away. Not her independence, not her strength, not her pride. He had done it one cutting remark, one dismissive gesture, one humiliation at a time. His phone buzzed his mother again. Michael, she snapped the moment he answered. I just heard Ava filed. How could you let this happen? I didn't let anything happen, he muttered. She left. Of course she left, his mother barked. You pushed her. You never appreciated that girl. She was the best thing that happened to you. Michael rubbed his face. I know, Mom, I know. You don't know, she said sharply. If you did, she wouldn't be gone. He hung up, unable to handle the truth from another person. He walked through the mansion, touching everything that still smelled like her, the books she organized by color, the soft throw blanket she brought from her old apartment, the tiny plant she kept alive even though the house felt lifeless. He sank onto the couch and buried his face in his hands. "I messed up," he whispered to the empty room. "I really messed up." Ava and Kayla reached a small restaurant they used to frequent before Ava married Michael. The warm lighting, the familiar wood-paneled walls, the comfort of shared memories, all of it wrapped Ava in a sense of belonging she hadn't felt in years. They ordered their favorite dishes, and Kayla finally asked the question Ava had been avoiding. "Do you still love him?" Ava froze. The truth lodged painfully in her throat. "Yes," she whispered. "But I love myself more now." Kayla smiled, reached across the table, and squeezed her hand. "Then you're winning." Ava nodded, tears slipping softly down her cheeks. Not sadness, but release. Later that night, alone in her hotel room, Ava stared at the city lights. Her mind wandered back to Michael, not the cruel, arrogant man he had become, but the man she had once believed existed underneath. She wondered if that man had ever been real, or if she had been loving a dream. She lay down, pulling the blankets up to her chin, and whispered into the dark, "I hope he becomes better. Even if it's not for me." But for Michael, better felt impossibly far away. He didn't sleep. Couldn't. His thoughts spun like a storm. Every insult he'd thrown, every laugh he'd used to cover his insecurity, every moment he'd chosen pride over partnership. He remembered how Ava used to kiss his forehead before bed, whispering goodnight even when he barely acknowledged her. He remembered how she'd sit beside him in silence, offering comfort he never appreciated. Now the silence was suffocating. At 2:13 a.m., he grabbed his keys and drove. He didn't know where he was going until he arrived outside Ava's hotel. He stared at the glowing windows, wondering which one belonged to her, wondering if she was awake, wondering if she was crying, wondering if she hated him. He wanted to call her. He wanted to go inside. He wanted to beg. But he stayed in the car, gripping the steering wheel, knowing this time he couldn't barge into her life demanding forgiveness. This time he had to face the truth. Ava wasn't his to command. She wasn't his to control. She wasn't even his to lose. She was only his to cherish, and he had failed. And as the city lights flickered against his windshield, Michael Hartwell realized that the woman he had mocked at breakfast had become the woman he wasn't sure he deserved anymore.
Ava woke the next morning to soft sunlight spilling across the hotel room floor. She stretched slowly, savoring the quiet peace she hadn't felt in years. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand, but she didn't check it immediately. Today wasn't about Michael. Today wasn't about court papers or apologies or the past. Today was about her. She showered, dressed, and stepped out into the crisp morning air with a sense of purpose blooming inside her. She walked to a nearby park, watching dogs tug their owners along the trails, couples laughing softly over coffee, joggers weaving through the early crowd. Life was happening all around her, and for the first time in what felt like forever, she felt like she belonged in it. She found a bench beneath a tall maple tree and sat down, letting the breeze brush her cheeks. She pulled out her phone to finally check her messages. 10 missed calls, 5 voicemails, 3 texts from Michael. She opened the most recent one. "Michael, I'm outside the hotel. I haven't left. Please talk to me." Ava closed her eyes, inhaled deeply, and exhaled slowly. She felt neither anger nor fear, just clarity. She had always operated from emotion, from longing, from the desire to fix things. But now, she operated from strength. Her phone buzzed again. Unknown number. "Mrs. Hartwell, this is Mr. Hartwell's assistant. He hasn't shown up to work in days. We're worried. Please call if you can." Ava's heart tightened for a moment, but she didn't let guilt take over. She wasn't responsible for his unraveling. He was a grown man, one who had refused every opportunity to grow before it was too late. She stood from the bench and began walking, her steps steady, her thoughts focused. She dialed Simone. "Good morning, Ava," Simone answered smoothly. "I was just about to call you." "What's happening?" Ava asked. "There's movement," Simone replied. "Michael's lawyers reached out at 6 a.m. with a request to meet. They're asking if you'd consider mediation instead of litigation." Ava lifted an eyebrow. "Mediation? That's a sudden shift." "It is," Simone agreed. "And it usually means one thing: he's scared of what a judge will rule." Ava turned toward the street. "Set it up." "I'll come." "Are you sure?" "Yes," she said. "I want this on my terms." When she arrived at the law office later that morning, she expected a polished conference table, stiff attorneys, and a tense negotiation. What she didn't expect was to find Michael alone in the waiting area, still wearing the same wrinkled shirt from yesterday, eyes hollow with exhaustion. He stood as soon as he saw her. "Ava." She didn't slow her steps. She walked past him, pushed open the conference room door, and took her seat. She felt him follow timidly, like a reprimanded child, not the arrogant man he used to be. Simone entered moments later with a calm, commanding presence. "Let's begin." But Michael raised a hand. "Please. Before the lawyers speak, can I talk to her?" Simone looked at Ava. Ava nodded once. "Say what you need to say." Michael swallowed hard. "I've spent 4 days trying to figure out how I became the man you walked away from. And I can't blame anyone but myself." He paused, voice trembling. "I pushed you, I hurt you. I made you feel small. And I'm ashamed of myself." Ava remained steady, silent, listening. "I know I don't deserve anything from you, not forgiveness, not a second chance. But I need you to know that I'm committed to changing. Truly changing, not because I'm afraid you'll leave, but because I don't want to be that man anymore." His chest rose and fell shakily. "Whether we end up together or not, whether you take everything or nothing, I want to be better. I need to be better." Ava finally spoke. "Michael, I appreciate your words." "I do, but change isn't an apology." She leaned forward. "Change is a choice, a lifestyle, a commitment. Words can't undo what's been done." He nodded weakly. "I know." Simone cleared her throat. "If we may proceed," but Ava lifted a hand. "No." Everyone froze. Ava turned fully toward Michael. "I'm not here to punish you. I'm not here to collect revenge. I'm here because I need peace. And I need you to understand exactly what that means." Michael's eyes glistened. "Tell me." Ava inhaled deeply. "I need space. Real space. I need time to heal from everything I endured. And you need time to face yourself without using me as a mirror." He whispered, "I'll do whatever you need." "You will sign the separation agreement," she said steadily. "You will respect every boundary. You will not follow me. You will not show up unannounced. You will not beg or manipulate or guilt me into returning." He nodded, throat tight. "I understand. And," she continued, "if you want a chance at reconciliation someday, not today, not even next month, you must go to therapy. Consistently, honestly, with commitment." Michael blinked, stunned. "I can do that." "Good," Ava said softly. "But do it for you." "Not for me." He lowered his eyes, defeated. "Okay." Ava leaned back, her heart steady. "Now we can begin." The mediation lasted 2 hours. Ava held her ground with grace and firmness. Simone handled the legal intricacies. Michael cooperated with a humility no one in the room had ever seen from him. There were no raised voices, no arguments, just acceptance, reality, and accountability. When the final documents were handed over, Ava signed. Michael hesitated, pen shaking. Ava watched him without flinching. "You can do it," she said softly. He lifted his eyes to her, desperate, lost, and painfully human, and he signed. With that stroke, Ava felt a weight lift, not the weight of marriage, but the weight of captivity she never realized she'd been carrying. Outside the building, the sunlight warmed her face once more. She stepped into the fresh air and closed her eyes. For the first time in years, her life belonged entirely to her. No mockery, no belittling, no walking on eggshells. Just freedom. Behind her, the door opened. She turned to see Michael standing a few steps away, hands in his pockets, shoulders slumped. He didn't approach. He didn't plead. He simply whispered, "Thank you for giving me the chance to change." Ava nodded gently. "Goodbye, Michael." He nodded back, heartbreak etched into every line of his face. "Goodbye, Ava." Then he watched her walk away, not as a possession, not as a shadow, not as a woman he took for granted, but as a woman who had outgrown the version of him that once held her down. A woman he finally realized he was lucky to have known. A woman he wasn't sure he'd ever deserve again. And Ava? She stepped into her new life with her head high, her heart steady, and her soul finally free.